Hey, yo. They said Janet came home normal. I said, stop the cap, cause the neighbor saw the whole scene. Her behavior wasn't regular. That timeline, nothing about it clean. People don't pull in, sit 5 minutes, pull back out, park again, stand outside like they fighting thoughts deep within. Unless something heavy got under their skin. No Commonwealth wanna pretend she was calm. Man, miss me with that. Michelle watched the whole routine glitch like a mind buffering, trying to process a fact. She only brought in 2 bags, but the trunk was full. If everything normal, why she moving like she stuck in the low? Why leave the rest in the car? Why freeze up mid-task? Why step back out and smoke like she needed time to unmask? That ain't I just got home. There's something weighing on me. That's my spirit ain't settled. That somebody or something been playing on me. She smoked the whole cigarette, not a drag, not a taste. The whole thing, like she tryna calm a storm. She ain't ready to face.
You walk through the gates. Reality sets the stage. With every step, the walls whisper your name. You go to prison, they shackle your dreams, an echo in the dark, or so it seems. Fighting your case with nothing but truth, clenching your fists as you steady your proof. And then they hit you with words like stones. You show no remorse, they carve in your bones. You won't take responsibility, you're not ready. We paint with excuses, keep the truth unsteady. How you gonna take blame for a storm you didn't bring? Like blaming the man who's just caught in the swing. The system don't care about the path you tread, only about boxes and a story well read. A trapdoor's waiting on both sides of this game. Confess to a crime, dance in someone's shame. They're looking for confessions, not justice, not grace. Just a clean little narrative that fits in this space. 20 years in, then 25 more, still saying, I didn't do this, don't they just ignore? Instead of respect, they punish your fight, turning truth into chains, darkness swallowing light. How you gonna take blame for a storm you didn't bring? Like blaming the man who's just caught in the swing. The system don't care about the path you tread, only about boxes and a story well read. This ain't rehabilitation, it's a game they play, trading innocent souls for compliance each day. And here's the truth bared raw like a wound, real remorse for the guilty. That's the tune they croon. But innocent hearts beating inside those cells need their stories to shift away from these hells. Change the definitions, let compassion in, because real justice starts where the truth can begin. Your innocence should never serve as your chain. We hold on to hope, knowing change is our gain.
Hey yo. They said Janet came home normal. I said stop the cap, cause the neighbor saw the whole scene. Her behavior wasn't regular. That timeline, nothing about it clean. People don't pull in, sit 5 minutes, pull back out, park again. Stand outside like they fighting thoughts deep within. Unless something heavy got under their skin. Oh, Commonwealth wanna pretend she was calm. Man, miss me with that. Michelle watched her whole routine glitch, like a mind buffering, trying to process the fact. She only brought in 2 bags, but the trunk was full. If everything normal, why she moving like she stuck in a lull? Why leave the rest in the car? Why freeze up mid-task? Why step back out and smoke like she needed time to unmask? That ain't I just got home. There's something weighing on me, as my spirit ain't settled. That somebody or something been playing on me. She smoked the whole cigarette, not a drag, not a taste. The whole thing like she trying to calm a storm she ain't ready to face. But y'all wanna force Eddie into danger mode? Nah, the vibe ain't matching. She wasn't rushing inside, she wasn't scared of who y'all claim was attacking. She was outside at least 10 minutes, visibly upset, acting strange, moving different. And the prosecution tried to rearrange, like none of that mattered. But this opens the door to other interactions, other stressors, other people, other explanations. And that's exactly why they ignored it. Cause once you admit she was upset, you gotta admit the story ain't set. And the whole prosecution narrative starts looking like a bad URL vet. All performance, no threat. I said the truth hit harder than any bar I could craft. And this timeline right here, yeah, it's the part where the Commonwealth get laughed off the map.
Buddy, how we doing? How we doing? I'll be on camera in a minute. What's happening, peoples? Good morning. What's up, Robert, man? Shout out to Robert. Ahmad. Everybody say, keep him in your prayers. And anyone else, that might be going through any kind of ailment, sicknesses, F cancer, for real. We don't support that. Or anyone that supports it. It's all good. How was the soccer game, man? All the people that got soccer games out there today, man. Nice hot day for it, We're getting to them ages where now we have grandchildren. But what is going on? What's up, everybody? Sometimes, what I was thinking about? I went outside this morning. We were in the back of the farm. We went to the range, and sometimes when you're stressed out, shooting like 500, 600, 700 rounds of ammo kind of makes you feel rejuvenated. Give you a lot to think about. But I was thinking when I was back there, I was like, sometimes in life, I think you sacrifice your own comfortabilities, right? just to keep peace, right? Sometimes you bend so far for people that you forget what standing straight even feels like. But the wildest part, I think the mess you end up in ain't even your mess, but you're still the one who has to pay the bills. You know, when I was younger, and I said that to basically get into when I was younger, I remember my neighbor was this old wise guy, right? The type who talked slow, moved even slower, but he didn't miss nothing. He saw everything going on in the neighborhood, everything. Nothing got by this guy. And one day he comes to me. He has two tomato plants. You know what I mean? He shows me every step of the way, right? The soil, the sunlight, tells me his whole tomato story. Like, I don't even, you know what? Let me take this down. He tells me that this whole story about tomato plant. I don't even like tomatoes. Don't even where's my glasses? I don't even like tomatoes. So he tells me this whole DNA about friggin' tomatoes. And I don't understand what he's saying at all. But I'm like, okay, respectfully, I'm listening. I'm listening because you don't want to be disrespectful. But I was young. So he brings these two tomato plants over, right? So he's explaining all this shit to me, what I got to do, the best way to have healthy tomatoes, when to water them, when the patience. Then he tells me the deal, right? He said, listen, Michael, he would say, Michael, for every healthy tomato that you grow, he'll pay me little. I forgot what exactly it was. But everyone that died, I owed him 10 times of what he was paying me. And I got to tell you, I said, this old man is hustling me. But later in life, I realized what he was teaching me. Because sometimes you could do everything right, right? You could water it, nurture it, protect it, and sometimes something still goes wrong with the tomato. Look at Eddie O'Brien. I'm sure his parents did everything right while they were raising him. The 15, short years that they've had before he was taken away. I mean, they were still parents after that, and they're still parents today. Don't get it twisted. But what I'm saying is they did everything right for Eddie. They watered him. They raised him. They educated him. They taught him how to be a good man. And look, he's still a great man, you know? And still something went wrong. And not because you failed, and not because Eddie failed, not because you didn't care, but because I guess life has its own weather, right? Life has its own storms and its own timing, and when it's not your fault, but you still got to pay the piper. And I think that's the part in life, right? As we're growing up, that nobody warned you about, that when we're becoming parents, that nobody teaches you how to be a great parent, how to not, we don't always know the right things to do as parents. We don't always say the right shit. We don't always give our kids the right advice. We tell our kids to do what we ourselves did. No jumping on the bed and then, but you tell us all these great stories how you were jumping on the bed, Dad, when you were younger, and you talk about it like it's so cool. But that's the part that nobody tells you, right? Growing up, they tell you to work hard, be good, be a stand up dude, have integrity, right? But do they tell you? But never forget that, right? What I mean is, what they're not telling you is that life will stand you. Life will still give you a friggin' invoice, right? Life will still give you a bill for the damages that you didn't even cause, right? But here's the twist. Those moments, I think those are the moments that shape you into the person that you want to be, that sharpen you into fine metal, that forge you, that teach you how to stand in the rain without drowning. You know what I mean? How to take a hit without losing your soul. How to rebuild even when the damage is so severe, but it was not your damage. So if you're listening right now and you feel like you're paying the bills for things you didn't break, you're not alone. I know there's so many people, you're just learning the same lessons that old man taught me with those damn friggin' tomato plants. And maybe that's why I hate tomatoes to this day. Because how many of them friggin' things died, man? I cut the grass all damn summer. But I think that was his hustle. But life ain't fair. And I still remember so many stories that old timer taught me, man. Him and his mother sitting across the street listening to Red Sox games on the AM radio. But yeah, give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Flickers of light. To unfold, lay it out clean and cold. Yeah. You're tracing lines, assembling facts, put them together like a puzzle, feel the cracks. What you laid out isn't wild at all. It's a map to a shadow where the secrets fall. Arty in the night, drawing close, it's a rhythm you feel. Can you tell me more? 8:30, it fits, doesn't it? The hours unwind, let's commit. Imagine a timeline clean and sharp, not a lost boy caught in the dark. Witnesses, whispers in the maze, mapping out a truth not lost in the haze.
Mikey, we discover the lines, body and soul in a time when shadows dance beneath the moonlight. Pieces connecting in the dead of night, bringing light to the truth that's out of sight. We break it apart, we ignite. Oh Mikey, oh let's shine through the fight, revealing the stories in black and white. Did he lurk till
in the courtroom lights, truth's gonna bend. Heffernan standing tall, trying to defend. Said it looked bad on paper, but it's all deeper. Politics lurking, call it a grim reaper. Eddie was just a kid, caught in the fray, but the power players had a game to play. From day one, they wanted him to fall. A kid in the spotlight, crushed by it all. Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Dr. Bonham was chosen, thought he would be right, a face of fairness in that long, dark night. But the DA smiled wide, played both sides slick. Heffernan thought neutral, but maybe that's the trick. Eddie's fate sealed with a stroke of a pen. My ruling was sound, but the world turned again. They needed him guilty to fit their plan, change the laws mid-game. Oh, what a scam! Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Juvenile court, he should have stayed there. 20 years, not a slap, but no one would care. System in panic cause he stood his ground, but the wheels of justice just turned him around. They wanted Eddie down, they wanted him lost. With the stakes so high, he paid the cost. Heffernan's truth rang clear in the dark, tried to bring light, but it missed. Shadows dance in the neon glow, tales of fear on the evening show. They needed a monster for the 5 o'clock news, a 15-year-old boy they could easily use. They threw his clean clothes in a bloodstained car and locked up a peacemaker behind iron bars. They call him a predator to hide their own lies, but we see the truth when we look in his eyes. A loyal young soul, so gentle and polite. We're standing together to finish this fight. Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring ourselves this boy home in the 30-year tear. They hid all the palm prints, the DNA strands, put a lifetime of blame on a child's scarred hands. But the science is speaking, the silence is broke. We're tearing the fabric of the web that they spoke. He's grateful and compassionate, steady and true. An innocent man wearing prison cell blue. The system can bend, but it's breaking today.
Okay. Shout out to everyone holding it down. But welcome back. Welcome to another Can't We Keep It Real? But we're gonna talk about a man, and my monologue today I think goes along with this, a man who spent over 30 years, like probably going on 31 years, this July, and paying the price for someone else's actions, paying the price for someone's wrongdoing. And it's crazy that the state, and I know y'all call it the Commonwealth, but I mean, I think it's bigger than Massachusetts. It's bigger than the confines of the Commonwealth. And there's clowns that say, oh, you don't understand what we're going through because you never been against the Commonwealth, which you don't even know that to be true. But I stood in front of Superior Court judges, I stood in front of that desk, with a little man up there in that desk that can make decisions on your life, that can take your freedom. So we look at Eddie, a man who lost his childhood, his youth, his freedom, his future. And Eddie didn't lose that shit because of evidence. He didn't lose it because of evidence. He lost it because a story was easier to sell than the facts. And trying to do all this stuff sometimes. At the same time, trying to, run the boards, make sure you get the right artwork up there, or, make sure your screen's good for your viewers. You want to put on a good presentation. That's why I say quality over quantity. But Eddie lost his youth, his freedom, some of the best years of his life, and because it was easier just to tell a lie, than to speak the friggin' truth, and yeah, we're talking about Eddie O'Brien and many other men and women across the country. And I always knew, because I know how the system is, that people are done dirty. But I never realized how many people have been wrongly accused across the map. And sometimes it's 30, 40 years before a lot of these people are exonerated. Imagine sitting in a joint 30 years because of some shit that you didn't even do. And I speak all the time that after you do 30, 40 years incarcerated, right? That's all you know. Shit's different. I talk to a lot of guys, a lot of, inmates and stuff that, not inmates, I hate that fucking word, convicts that couldn't make it on the outside. My uncle, God rest his soul, but he used to tell me, he said, do I prefer the streets over prison? I don't know. He said, because in prison, you're somebody. You come out here on the streets, you're just an average person, And sometimes these guys that go through their whole life spending incarcerated, child time, visit time, rec time, yard time's over, religious services in the chapel. They tell you everything that you have going on, everything you have to do. So then you come out here to the real world, and it's totally, totally different. Mama O'Brien in the chat. I'm skimming through the chat. I'm just trying to stay focused today. So I'll definitely look at the chat after, and anyone that sends super chats or memberships, because we know the weekends are kind of, them membership weekends, man. We got to get back up to 300. We're down to 260. We kind of fell. This is the lowest that our members have been. A lot of people are lost once they're on the outside. A lot of people. I remember Joe Beaver. You wouldn't know him, but from Rhode Island, he came out and he went and robbed the bank. And then he got away with it and he got home and he called the police. He went home because he wanted to give his mama a hug and kiss goodbye. And she was like, "Where you going?" "I'm going back to prison." Then when the cops came, they arrest him. And he basically tells the cops, "Hey, there's a gun in the ceiling tiles in the bathroom," because he wanted to make sure. Sometimes these guys make parole after 30, 40 years. Look at the movie Shawshank Redemption. And I know it's just a movie, but the old man, he got parole. The old man with the bird, I think, he made parole. He's out there. And he was just miserable. And if you remember, the ending to his story. Brooks. There you go, Brooks. Now, a lot of them movies are based on real life. You hear a lot of stuff that Red said when he went up for parole. Am I rehabilitated? I don't even know what that word means anymore. So a lot of people say, "Oh, these guys, they're convicts. They broke the law. They made that choice." And I always said, and I believe, like, sometimes shit, crime chooses you. But Eddie O'Brien today, and here's the part that should make everybody stop what they're doing. Most people don't even know why Eddie is in prison. Most people will tell you, I love it when the people that say, "Oh, he's guilty. He's guilty." Why? Please tell me why he's guilty. I've been hoping somebody would have debated me on this, but nobody is up for the challenge because they know you can't defend a lie. I wanted to debate JFK about this. So many people, nobody wants to debate on this subject because they know that you can't even come up with a good argument why Eddie has been in prison for 30 years. It took him 3-4 weeks to even figure out that a motive. How do you arrest him, but you don't even have a motive on the case? So most of these people, man, they're idiots. They're hypocrites. They don't know the evidence. They don't know the contradictions. Absolutely on G. Thank you. I appreciate that. Shit, I'll tell you what. I'll debate Tom Riley. I'll debate Tom Riley on this case. I ain't no lawyer, but I think I know a little bit about how the law operates, and especially about this case. They believed the story. They were all fed. That's what it comes down to. They believed a story that fell apart the moment you asked one real question. Where's the friggin' real evidence? Where's the real evidence? Eddie would only get convicted in that time in life. That's the only time that guy would get convicted. Because if Eddie did what they claimed, then why is there no DNA from him on the victim? Why is there no DNA on the knife? Where's the DNA on the walls? None on the floor. None on the staircase, right? None on the body. None on the clothes. Where did they get the DNA where Eddie eventually said he was? Running down the stairs, running through the friggin' clothesline, out the back door. That's where they got that. But you know what was found? DNA under Janet's fingernails that didn't match. DNA that pointed to a struggle. But now with him, DNA that could have told the truth if the system wanted the truth. And how come nobody finds it suspicious that they didn't test anybody else? You got it, Rose. They didn't need evidence. They needed a poster boy to prove their juvenile super predator bull crap. DNA that could have told the truth, but the system didn't want the truth. And here, I think, is where these questions get uncomfortable. Yeah, I did the old grocery store one. That was actually pretty good. That shit came to me at the last minute, but why wasn't the DNA tested against Paul Downing Sr., a man who was known for dragging his wife around the house, a man with a documented history of violence? Janet met every wall in that house at the hands of her husband. Why wasn't it tested against her son, who grew up watching the abuse of his father and repeating it, beating his own mother? How can you ever respect somebody like that? Oh, you should have respect for the victim's children. Yeah, right. I have respect for the victim. That's as far as that goes. Why weren't them Downings ever treated like suspects? But they weren't. Why weren't their clothes seized? Why weren't their hands swabbed just to show that you're doing a good investigation? Why weren't their timelines torn apart the way Eddie's was? And the biggest question, right? Who were they talking about when they said, I know what they did? They were hiding in the house. Who was hiding in the house? Because somebody was, right? Somebody left blood that didn't match Eddie. Somebody left DNA that didn't match Eddie. Somebody beat the shit out of Janet Downing, and it wasn't Eddie, but the Downing family. Behind closed doors on Boston Street, who were they? Why haven't they spoke in 30 years? Why don't we see any big tributes that they do on Mother's Day? Because it reminds them how horrible of children they were, allegedly. I don't know, but when I hear you raising your hands to your mom, how can that be respected? How could you ever look in the mirror and claim you a man? And how can Adi look in the mirror and claim that he did the right thing by them boys or by them families? What was his trophy? But instead of investigating the people closest to the victim, right, the system grabbed the easiest target, a 15-year-old boy, a child, a kid who didn't have power, he didn't have money, and he didn't have a voice. Oh, but his parents came up with $150,000, and they're probably still paying that shit off. They probably mortgaged everything to the friggin' hill, everything they had, family. You know, it's not easy to come up with $150K. But who is Eddie O'Brien? You know, he didn't come from much. But we know what? He spent 3 decades paying the price for a crime he didn't commit. Paying the price for someone else's violence. Paying the price for a story that never made any damn sense. Because the truth was too messy, too political, too dangerous for the people in charge. Let's go, people. Appreciate it. Give me a minute, man. You know, give some memberships. You know, the weekends is where the gifting memberships. You know, I want to get back up to 300. So give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Shadows dance in the neon glow. Tales of fear on the evening show. They needed a monster for the 5 o'clock news. A 15-year-old boy they could easily use. They threw his clean clothes in a bloodstained car and locked up a peacemaker behind iron bars. They call him a predator to hide their own lies, but we see the truth when we look in his eyes. A loyal young soul, so gentle and polite. We're standing together to finish this fight. Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring our selfless boy home in the 30-year tear. They hid all the palm prints, the DNA strands, put a lifetime of blame on a child's scarred hands. But the science is speaking, the silence is broke. We're tearing the fabric of the web that they spoke. He's grateful and compassionate, steady and true. An innocent man wearing prison cell blue. The system can bend, but it's breaking today. We won't stop shouting till he walks away. Unchain the gentle giant, let a good soul breathe. Free Eddie the Teddy, it's time he's released. Break down the courtroom walls, let the truth ring clear. Bring our selfless boy home in the 30-year tear.
Tired of their stories, tired of the pain. We rise up together, we'll dance in the rain. He's our gentle giant, our shining star. We'll fight till the end.
We'll carry him far.
a tear.
Check it, these podcasts rolling in with their lies, using articles, trash and truth, that's their disguise. Riley planted seeds, watch the chaos unfold, spitting hit pieces, just hustling for gold. Facts in my pocket, I'm spitting the real, while they aim for the clickbait, that's part of the deal. They call it content, but I see the fraud, trying to cash in on the truth, like it's they throwing dirt, but I'm rising like a phoenix. Headlines designed just to spread all the meanness, but we use the facts, they use all the lies. Rallies in their pockets can't hide from the sky. Scrolling through the headlines, it's a nasty game. Podcasters mad cause we ain't playing the same. They whining about respect, but I can't be bothered. Your so-called content, man, does it even matter? Pouring hate like it's water filling up my cup. Talking slick behind the mic, but what's up with the luck? I'm here for the truth while they chase the clout. Every word's a shot and there's no room for doubt. They throwing dirt, but I'm rising. In the shadows of a house where the whispers play, the door of the frame holds the secrets of the day. Locked on to Eddie, they whispered his name. Caught in a tempest, a life gone insane. Down in the dark, where the cellar path runs, a set of keys hit the dirt under disappearing suns. A house key, a car key, lost in the rush. But the state swept it up like a hand in the crush. Eddie's freedom cry, can you hear it loud? Breaking through the darkness, piercing the shroud. 30 years in chains, but the truth won't die. Unseal the past, let Eddie rise high. Unseal the notes, expose all the blocks. Rayleigh trapped Eddie in a manufactured box. 30 years of hidden facts buried in the track. It is time to give Eddie O'Brien his freedom back. Unseal the box, break down the lock. Let the truth ring louder than the courthouse clock. 3 decades of silence, a cold prison shell. Refuse to lie, they cast a wicked spell. No remorse in their eyes, they judge from the booth. But Eddie stands tall, anchored in truth. Summer is opening, the science is real. The manufactured box begins to peel. Voices collide as hope takes its stand. With every heartbeat echoes a drowning band. Eddie's freedom cry, can you hear it loud? Breaking through the darkness, piercing the shroud. 30 years in chains, but the truth won't die. Unseal the past, let Eddie rise high. The drums roll thunder through the halls of despair. With strings and brass, they unite in the air. A symphony of chaos reflects in the night. The fight for Eddie grows bigger, takes flight. Beneath boundless skies, the walls start to shake. Each note of resistance, a wave in the wake. A revolution of honesty will cut through the lies. As the world turns its gaze, a new dawn will rise. So gather the voices who waited too long for Eddie O'Brien. We'll sing out strong. His freedom's a fire, lighting up the gloom. As the massive, triumphant chord brings truth to the room.
Back. Oh my God. Hang on. That's better. So where were we? All right. Paying a political price. We were talking a little bit about Eddie. Why did he get convicted? But I think the free Eddie people, I don't think they're scared of the truth. I think they already know the truth, right? So they're not running from the truth. They're not protecting anyone's reputation. They're here. We're here to ask the questions the system refused to ask. We're here to shine a light where they keep shit in the dark. So I think we're here to say the names they avoided. We're here to expose the stories behind the story. But Eddie didn't just lose 30 years. Shit, he lost his life. And the people responsible, they'll never have to answer for any of it. That's the shame part, right? That's the shame of it all. So we're pulling back the layers, we're starting, naming the contradictions, start talking about it, right? Asking the questions that nobody ever wants to ask. The evidence, the contradictions. The contradictions are crazy. The contradictions are crazy. If you see me, look, I got two computers going on right now. I got one here. I got one there. It's actually there. It's like, there it is. Crisscross. And I got two more over here, but they're not on. But they usually are. The battery's dead. Talk about multitasking. I gotta stop walking to light my cigarette. So the Downing family, right? And I don't know, that house, I like to know what was going on. I think it was more like a pressure cooker with the lid barely hanging on. You know, some families pass down recipes, right? Some families pass down legacies. The Downing family, like I said, it seems like Paul passed down violence. Paul Sr. wasn't just a husband, he was a storm. The kind that didn't need thunder to be dangerous. I mean, he beat a kid in the park with a friggin' bike chain. You know, so Paul Downing Sr. is like a storm, right? The kind that don't need thunder, right? The kind that the forecast is always the same, except scattered yelling with a 90% chance of bruises on a woman 115 pounds or less. The neighbors heard it. The friends knew it. Janet lived it. And Paul Jr., like I said, children don't grow in the dark. They grow in the light that they're given, right? And the light in that house was very friggin' dim, flickering at times and violent, like a storm. You learn what you are, what you see. You mirror what you live. And he became the echo of his father's footsteps. I'm just keeping it a bean. You know, this wasn't a peaceful crib. You know what I mean? It was a volcano pretending to be a garden from everything that all the evidence that we have seen. And when the eruption finally happened, oh boy, the system didn't look at the lava. And that wasn't a great case for Riley. What does Riley get out of that? He can't get attorney general from that. Domestic violence, beatings, homicides happen all the time. Oh, big shout out for the 1999. I see the orange ones and the red ones. Appreciate it. Free Eddie, we standing tall. They didn't want to hear her bestie's statement when her kid yelling my mom when they lied to duplex hands on her and shirtless. Bingo.
Sorry, my phone.
You know, but when the eruption happens, the system don't look at the lava. The system blamed the kid standing on the sidewalk, though. Shit, talk about the friggin' clock that never that never told the same time twice. You know, if you walk through the timeline, because I think the Eddie O'Brien case is like a broken watch. It never tells the truth. So now I gotta move my mouse closer. It never tells the truth, right? But somehow everyone swears it's accurate. The 8:30 p.m. You know, Paul Jr. swears he left the house around what 8:30, right? He saw Eddie on his porch. Said his mother was alive, asleep, peaceful. Oh yeah, she's sleeping permanently. you have to ask Denise. She's the specialist in memberships. But I think because Google owns YouTube and Apple, I think there might be some kind of some way you have to do it. But I'm not really sure because I don't have an Apple phone anymore. They all broke. So now I have an Android. But multiple witnesses see Eddie, right? Somewhere else entirely at that time, right? But Paul's Jr. story shifts depending on who was asking him. A lot of Paul's statements talk about door locks. You know, a timeline that moves is a timeline that lies. I read that yesterday and I was like, you know what? I got to remember that. So I put it in my notes. A timeline that moves is a timeline that lies. You know, so when we look at the DNA under the fingernails, I mean, Janet fought for her life. Her fingernails tell the story, right? And the DNA under them, we know who it is not. We know who it isn't. I don't even know, right? We know whose DNA is not under her fingernails. And that's not a small detail, I think, that needs to be overlooked. And that's the universe screaming, look again. And if George would have had, I think, if George would have had specialists, if he would have had, you know, experts, maybe this stuff could have been argued. But instead of testing it against the men in the house, like I said earlier, the men with a history of violence, the system shrugged and said, it don't matter. We learned later on that there's an argument in the projects, allegedly. Carol's calling out of you fucking, you know, you unalived my sister, allegedly. You don't test none of them. I mean, is that like finding a key in the lock and saying, nah, let's try every door except the one it fits? What doors it go to? I don't know. Let's try them all. You already know what door it goes to, dummy. You stupid. I mean, I think a crime that was this violent, right, should have looked like a horror movie. Picture Carrie. You know what I mean? Blood, head to toe, soaked, footprints, transfer, trace, smears, something. But Eddie was a friggin' magician and a friggin' ninja. Not a drop on him. Not a stain. Not a fiber. Not a trace. How did you pull that off, man? And they'll say, oh, you know, he was smart. He's a smart guy. He was a smart kid. I ain't believing that one. But you didn't want to investigate. Like I said, Eddie, not a drop on him, not a stain, nothing. It's like accusing someone of swimming across the Atlantic and then they don't have, and then once they get to the end of the beach, it's like, how'd you get here? Oh, I swam with you. Well, you're dry as a bone. It's like when they have the runs. You know what I mean? You have a marathon, all of a sudden, the guy's going to sit on the park bench and wait for y'all to come back. And then, oh, here they come. Let me get up and cross the finish line. Not even sweaty at all. Or how about the fence jumping witness? I mean, this is the greatest one. Around 10 p.m., a witness sees a man jumping a fence near the Downing home, right? I mean, we know it's not Eddie, not his build, not his clothes, right? But the details go so blurry, like a badass secret, because it didn't fit the story they wanted. So then it turned into, oh, Eddie scaled this fence like a 3-step jump up and he was over it. And then magically, the same time that he was at Midnight Convenience with a cop, an EMT, and God knows who else. Boy, man, so not only Eddie's a magician, right, that can go through everything that happened in that home, that had blood everywhere. You know what I mean? Everything was smeared. There was transfers. I mean, something, right? He should have some blood on him, but not a drop on him. Nothing. And then they're saying at 10 p.m. he jumped the fence with different clothes on already. So he's a magician. He's a friggin' ninja. And talk about the Downing men again that were never tested. And I'll get to all the memberships, all the super chats. Just bear with me. I would never forget anybody that supports the show. Thank you. The Downing men were never tested. And if I said that slow, I'll sound like another blogger. But that was never, that was never, what do I call that? I think that was a myth. But there was a lot of myths. There was a lot of lies going on. None of it makes any sense. The men with a history of violence, the men closest to the victim, were never DNA tested. Shit, that's not an oversight. You know what that is? That's a friggin' choice. So when Eddie's people say, Eddie didn't do that, based on what? And they say the evidence. And I say, oh, okay, yes, exactly. And then you go to the evidence and you look. And these people have been saying that, look at the evidence for 30 years, but nobody wanted to look at the evidence. But now when you say, oh, Eddie didn't do it, why not? And then you hear one of them bedtime stories the Commonwealth is feeding you with. Oh, yeah, you know what? We'll believe that fantasy over the evidence. And when you're listening to it, when you begin to hear this case, you're kind of like, wow, that's some horrible shit, man, that anybody can do. How can Eddie do that? That's rotten, man. And automatically your brain is going to guilty because you think that the men and women that we elect, the people that put on these uniforms, are walking around with integrity. So you believe what they say, But then, no, you know what? Let's look at the evidence. Let's break down the evidence for ourselves. Let's look at some of these podcasts, see what they're talking about. Remember, pros and cons of what everybody's saying, and then judge them off the facts, not opinions. Over here, there's the O'Briens will tell you that everything I've ever said was a fact. They surprised me with that shit yesterday. That everything Mikey ever said was on point. And I was like, whoa, because I wasn't sure about all that. You know what I mean? I try to do my research. Shit. That's all I've been doing. If I'm not on this camera, I got this big ass book over here, the Laws of Criminal Procedures. I'm in there. I'm shepherdizing cases. I'm looking at Eddie's case compared to this case. I'm looking up, things on the internet. Everything I found was all shit that I found. A lot of shit's on the truthabouteddieobrien.com. The handwritten notes. The evidence. Not some bullshit story that they're going to tuck you in with and tell you just suck your thumb and enjoy it. Because once you break down the Downing family dynamics, and respect to Janet, because I know that once Eddie walks out them gates, once he walks out that prison, at that moment is Janet truly gonna rest in peace. And I don't care how people take it. Oh, how can you say that? Because it's the truth. You realize this Eddie isn't in prison because of proof. He's in prison because the truth was too dangerous for the people who lived behind those closed doors. But today, I think we're opening some of them doors. I'll be right back. Big shout out to everyone in the chat, the mods, and all.
Yeah, we gon' take the moment before we dive in.
Let me show some love, Yeah, love.
Turn on the stream, feel the energy rise. Shout out to the fam, the ones in the skies. Every comment, every laugh keeps the vibe alive. You're the heartbeat of the chat, yeah, we thrive. Pulling up each night, ready to roll. You make this place lit, body and soul. Minds in the back, heavy lifting, they don't play. Keeping it smooth, watching traffic every day. Peacekeepers on alert, holding down the fort. Crew full of love, every stream they support. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine bright. Out the backbone of the night, holding us tight. To the members, true believers, making it real. You're the pulse in our heart, let's do the deal. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine bright. Out the backbone of the night, holding us tight. To the members, true believers, making it real. You're the pulse in our heart, let's do the deal.
We see you dedicated, going the extra mile. Not just watching you invested, that's the style. Lights on, vibe strong, every show's a hit. Communing together, can't take a minute to quit. You keep us going, no watered down vibe. From the chest to the miles, know we thrive.
Major respect to the ones who keep it clean. Clean up crew rolling, y'all know what I mean. Don't try it today, they say with a glance. Bringing peace to the chaos, giving us a chance. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine bright. Y'all the backbone of the night, holding us tight. To the members, true believers, making it real. You're the pulse in our heart, let's do the deal. To the chat, to the crew, yeah, we shine bright. Y'all the backbone of the night, holding us tight.
Now listen closely, I got a story to tell about a world that's
spun into a living hell. In the mid-90s, truth lost its place while the system turned its back on the human race. Oh, all they cared about was filling up the beds. Didn't matter who they grabbed, just fill up the spread. They took the innocent kids, tossed them aside. Evidence was trash, it was a twisted ride. Bodies in the system, just numbers on a page. The system didn't care about the pain or the rage. Now look around, see the streets in despair. Families breaking apart, chaos in the air. Wonder why the youth are lost in the haze. A puppet show of lives caught in a cruel maze. Taken. The order they kept left the neighborhood shattered. Families wept. In the shadows of a house where the whispers play, the door of the frame holds the secrets of the day. Locked on to Eddie, they whispered his name. Caught in a tempest, a life gone insane. Down in the dark, where the cellar path runs, a set of keys hit the dirt under disappearing suns. A house key, a car key, lost in the rush, but the state swept it up like a hand in the crush. Eddie's freedom cry, can you hear it loud? Breaking through the darkness, piercing the shroud. 30 years in chains, but the truth won't die. Unseal the past, let Eddie rise high. Unseal the notes, expose all the blocks. Rayleigh trapped Eddie in a manufactured box. 30 years of hidden facts, buried in the track. It is time to give Eddie O'Brien his freedom back. Unseal the box, break down the lock. Let the truth ring louder than the courthouse clock. 3 decades of silence, a cold prison shell. Refuse to lie, they cast a wicked. No faith in what could be said. Every expert that came said the same refrain. Eddie wasn't violent, he was fighting through the pain. Nah, the danger to the world, just a kid with a dream. They top the wounds and scars like it's part of the theme. But the gate. Oh, oh, he sealed up the gate. With every test and interview, they painted his soul, but that didn't matter. They had lost control. They looked at a number, not the man within, ignoring all the voices that should have helped him win. The purpose of the hearing was to guide him through, yet they tossed the science like they never knew. Too dangerous, too damaged, oh, that's not who he was. Just a child in a system without a pause. Every single expert, they knew the facts. Non-violent heart, it's not an act. He was meant for healing, not this dark fate, but the court turned blind and sealed up the gate. Oh, they focused on the wounds as if pain could define the essence of a kid who's meant to shine. A constitutional failure right before our eyes, lost in the shuffle where justice dies. America, can you see? Can you open the door to the voices unheard, fighting for more? Every single expert, they knew the facts. Non-violent heart, it's not an act. He was meant for healing, not this dark fate, but the court turned blind and sealed up the gate. Eddie's story is a lesson, not just for today. A reminder to listen, to show a better way. When the voices of the many are ignored with disdain, we've lost the battle and it's all in vain. Let the echoes of the experts ring loud and clear. For every Eddie standing there, we cannot disappear.
We'll be back. Appreciate, that little. Usually when I'm doing that, I'm always looking up something. I'm always looking up something, some information, something that I might have missed. I want to give you guys, the best possible show. I don't know if I do a good job at it, but I try to bring you the best information, right? But I was thinking about Boston Street. The early evening, July 23rd, 95. I could picture, maybe kids on bikes, screen doors slamming, air condition wasn't, not everyone had AC back in 96, in the 90s. A normal summer night on the outside. Inside Janet's home, though, maybe a different world. A world where the inside walls are used to tension. Maybe yelling wasn't an event, it was a routine. I don't know. I wasn't there. Paul Jr.'s in and out. It seems like maybe from everything I'm gathering, maybe the house is a pressure cooker pretending to be a postcard. Hey, I like that one. I got to write that down. Then we look at, around 8:30, the front porch, the sidewalk. Paul Jr. claims he leaves the house at 8:30, right? He went in to get something to eat, came out sucking on something. He sees Eddie on the porch. He says his mom was everything was all good. She was sleeping peacefully. And then Paul Jr.'s version, witnesses placing Eddie somewhere else entirely, not on the porch. Eddie's not near his house, not in the timeline. That's what Paul Jr.'s selling. Tick tock, tick tock. But that time don't match. So now 8:30, 9:45. This is the blackout period. The part of this Boston Street movie or whatever where the lights start flickering. Oh my God, everyone leans forward. Audience is wondering what's going on. No one knows what's happening in that window. No one knows who was in Janet's house, but the people that was in her house. Who Janet fight with? Someone out there knows. Because she fought with somebody. But the evidence shows one thing clearly, right? She fought with somebody. And the evidence also shows who she didn't fight with. Under Janet's fingernails was a man's DNA. And it wasn't Eddie's. It wasn't tested against the men who lived in the house. A neighbor sees a man jumping a fence, right? Not Eddie's height, not Eddie's build, not Eddie's clothes, but Eddie's a ninja. Who disappeared in the night? Who hopped that fence? "10:30 p.m. that night, Paul Jr. returns home." I mean, depending when you ask him, his story changes. Halfway down the block, he sees all the ambulance. It could have been anybody. It was a multi-family neighborhood. Oh my God, Ma. Now he's running in the house to see what the hell's going on. Nothing lines up. Nothing lines up. Not the times, not the statements, not his weirdo behavior. So now after the discovery, right, police come. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Confusing, contradictions, upside down pitches. But here's the part that makes us all sit up straight, right? A crime this violent shouldn't have left a trail. Like I said in the last segment, right? There was no blood, no fibers, no footprints. Eddie was a friggin' magician. I mean, he would have to be. But Eddie's clean. No DNA, no trace, nada, nothing, no comprende. It's like accusing somebody of painting a house and they don't have a drop of paint on them. So now at this point, you got Eddie, a kid, alone, 15 years old, no lawyers. Parents are in the other room at the hospital. His uncle's there. Not understanding what's going on, thinking the police are talking about something totally different, like when he was mugged. But the Downing men, the ones with a history of being dirtbags, the ones closest to the victim, the ones whose DNA should have been tested, they walked by untouched, untested, unquestioned. Can you feel that in your bones, people? Is that injustice? Is that not a setup? mean, the Commonwealth builds their bullshit story, a convenient one. Oh, the headlines are spinning like like a damn slot machine. I'm sorry about that. The headlines are spinning like a slot machine, right? Teenage killer, brutal attack, neighborhoods in horror. Oh, yeah, that's what's going to make the neighborhood and the city wake up. Oh, my God, there's a monster. And he's a little boy. He's one of them super predators. But none of the headlines match the evidence. None match the DNA. And none match that timeline. Right? It's a story built on fear, not facts. So now we go 30 years later. Is the price paid? Is the bill cleared? I talked about the invoice in the beginning of the show. Is the invoice settled? Eddie's older, quieter, still fighting. Eddie didn't just lose 30 years of his life. He paid the price for someone else's storm. The nightmare on Boston Street. Now, Paul Jr., see, there's some things in his story that can't even survive. That stuck out to me anyway. If we stepped into the courtroom for a minute, because if Paul Jr.'s story, say if it was a chair with a table, it would collapse the moment somebody put anything on it. Kind of like them glass tables with them cheap ass chairs that kind of like in an S shape, man. My dad sat in that one day, that whole chair, it bulked under his pressure. His pressure was too big, it bent the friggin' chair. See, no one did this back in 1995, putting the statements under real pressure. Right? Just looking at it from a different angle, cross-examining some of these statements, I had the whiteboard up the other day and I'm looking at the statement and I got the whiteboard going pros and cons, crossing things out. So let's pretend I'm a lawyer and I'm cross-examining Paul. Paul, let's walk through this, take a walk with me slowly, carefully. I don't know how I would do this, but all right, Paul, every time you tell, the clock seems to change its mind. You testified, right, that you left the house around 8:30 p.m., right? And Paul Jr. would be like, yes, I have. And you said you saw Eddie O'Brien on the porch when? And Paul would say, yes. But multiple witnesses place Eddie somewhere else at 8:30, Paul. Can you help me figure that shit out? And if Eddie wasn't there, and your timeline depends on him being there, then what time did you actually leave? Because right now your story is like a clock with no hands, Paul. It tells whatever time you want it to. Yeah. All right, Paul. You said your mother was sleeping when you left, right? But the doctor, the medical examiner, right, or the coroner, whatever you call it, says she fought for her life. There were defensive wounds, Paul, right? There was DNA under her nails, wasn't there not? So I got to ask Paul, not pretending to be the, cross-examining him. How does a woman go from peacefully sleeping to fighting for her life in the exact window of time that you can't account for, Paul? That's what George should have been asking. And why does your timeline, Paul, always land on the safest square for you? That's what George should have been saying, some shit like that. All right, Paul. How about the DNA under your mother's fingernails, Paul? Let's talk about that DNA, Paul. Under your mother's fingernails, there was male DNA that didn't match your best friend or your brother's best friend, Eddie O'Brien, that you lived across the street from for years. You lived in the house. Your father's been in and out of the house. Your father lived there at one point. Your brother, your sister, your dolphin uncle. None of you guys were even tested. So tell me, Paul, how do you explain DNA from a struggle that doesn't match the boy you're pointing at, Paul? And he was never compared to the men who lived with her, Paul. Tell me about it. Because that is not a coincidence, Paul. That's a missing chapter. And of course, Paul can't even answer any of that. So now what George should have been doing is continuing going in. Paul, a witness saw a man jumping a fence behind your house about 10 p.m. Not Eddie, not his height, not his build. Did you see anybody? Did you hear anything? Did you notice anything, Paul? Because your story has you, conveniently, Paul, gone during the exact window somebody was in there doing that to your mom. But that's not a timeline, Paul, right? That's an escape hatch. Oh, sorry, withdrawn. I'll be on some shit like that. The time you said you return changes between whoever asked you. Sometimes it's 10:30. Sometimes it's earlier. Sometimes it's later. I mean, let me ask you, Paul, what time did you actually walk back into that house? Because your timeline moves like a shadow, never in the same place twice. Paul, that's what the attorney should have been doing, How about when you found your mother, Paul, And I know you're watching, Paul, right now, so these are all the questions to you, buddy. When you found your mother, your reactions, your statements, your behavior, none of it stayed consistent. It all had red flags. You changed details. You added shit in. You removed stuff. So, Paul, I'll ask you this, just some blogger, not even a damn attorney. Why does every version of your story protect you? It shields you. It puts distance at you, puts distance between you and Janet, right? And while every contradiction just pulling you closer and closer, that's all right, because your goal line keeps moving. The goalpost. I get it, Paul. But as my closing statement, I will like to say, Paul, your story isn't a timeline. To me, I think it's more like a friggin' maze, because every turn is leading you to another contradiction. Every answer is just creating more questions. And goddamn, every detail is shifting like friggin' sand in your feet, goddamn it. And when a story changes this much, it's not memory. It really isn't. It's not maintenance. But I gotta say, I think this is what happens when you finally put pressure on a story that was never tested. And give me a minute. When I come back, we'll close this out. Appreciate everybody. We're coming up on 2 hours. You know, don't forget, man, grab them memberships right now. Hit the super chat. Really appreciate it. You know, tomorrow I think we're going to do a great Father's Day edition. So, you know, that show will be dedicated to all the dads holding it down, all the moms holding it down. Because you know what? Moms, man, couldn't do that job. I couldn't do what my wife does. Even with me home, she still has to play daddy sometimes. You know, so shout out to, you know, all the moms, all the dads, all the papas, all the grandmas, all the nanas and Gigi's and CC's and nonas and nanes and, you know, whoever you are, man, you know, happy Father's Day to y'all. You know, give me a minute. And all the stepdads too that are holding it down for them deadbeats that just don't want to be in their sons or daughter's life. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you guys as well. But I'll be right back with some closing thoughts. Now, I sound like Jerry Springer. I'll be back.
Let me tell you about a kid, only 15 years, Eddie O'Brien, caught in the...
You walk through the gates. Reality sets the stage. With every step, walls whisper your name. You go to prison, they shackle your dreams, an echo in the dark, or so it seems. Fighting your case with nothing but truth, clenching your fists as you steady your proof. And then they hit you with words like stones. You show no remorse, they carve in your bones. You won't take responsibility, you're not ready. We paint with excuses, keep the truth unsteady. How you gonna take blame for a storm you didn't bring? Like blaming the man who's just caught in the swing. The system don't care about the path you tread, only about boxes and a story well read. A trapdoor's waiting on both sides of this game. Confess to a crime, dance in someone's shame. They're looking for confessions, not justice, not grace. Just a clean little narrative that fits in this space. 20 years in, then 25 more, still saying, I didn't do this, don't they just ignore? Instead of respect, they punish your fight, turning truth into chains, darkness swallowing light. How you gonna take blame for a storm you didn't bring? Like blaming the man who's just caught in the swing. The system don't care about the path you tread, only about boxes and a story well read. This ain't rehabilitation, it's a game they play, trading innocent souls for compliance each day. And here's the truth bared raw like a wound, real remorse for the guilty. That's the tune they croon. But innocent hearts beating inside those cells need their stories to shift away from these hells. Change the definitions, let compassion in, because real justice starts where the truth can begin. Your innocence should never serve as your chain. We hope.
Hey, yo. They said Janet came home normal. I said, stop the cap, cause the neighbor saw the whole scene. Her behavior wasn't regular. That timeline, nothing about it clean.
People don't pull in, sit 5 minutes, pull back out, park again. Stand outside like they fighting thoughts deep within, unless something heavy got under their skin. Oh, Commonwealth wanna pretend she was calm. Man, miss me with that. Michelle watched the whole routine glitch, like a mind buffering, trying to process a fact. She only brought in 2 bags, but the trunk was full. If everything normal, why she moving like she stuck in a lull? Why leave the rest in the car? Why freeze up mid-task? Why step back out and smoke like she needed time to unmask? That ain't I just got home. There's something weighing on me. As my spirit ain't settled, that somebody or something been playing on me. She smoked the whole cigarette, not a drag, not a taste. The whole thing like she trying to calm a storm she ain't ready to face.
But y'all wanna force Eddie into danger mode? Nah, the vibe ain't matching. She wasn't rushing inside, she wasn't scared of who y'all claim was attacking. She was outside at least 10 minutes, visibly upset, acting strange, moving different. And the prosecution tried to rearrange, like none of that mattered. But this opens the door to other interactions, other stressors, other people, other explanations. And that's exactly why they ignored it. Cause once you admit she was upset, you gotta admit the story ain't set. And the whole prosecution narrative started looking like a bad URL vet. All performance, no threat. I said the truth hit harder than any bar I could craft. And this timeline right here, yeah, it's the part where the Commonwealth get laughed off the map.
Locked in a cage where the truth fades away, in shadows of doubt where they make you pay. You go to prison to fight your case, stand tall on the truth in this desolate place. I didn't do this to scream to the skies, but all they hear is the echo of lies. As the parole board asked for remorse, you see, how can you apologize for something not done? Chained in a cycle that leaves you undone. You want a confession for what I didn't do. It's a trap door, baby, a noose that's drawn for you. Turning truth into just a liability. Your integrity's a curse in this dark reality. Show responsibility, they demand without a care. But the justice is a game that's rigged somewhere. 20 years in, and the clock just spins, still saying I didn't do that.
Here we are. We back. Appreciate that, everybody. Appreciate that. But give me a minute and we'll break, we'll closing words. Couple closing words. I think what we just talked about today is what happens when you finally put pressure of a story, right, that was never tested, when you stop, deep throating the headlines like medicine, and you start, or you start at least paying attention to what the label says. Just don't read what the headlines say. Just don't judge the book by the cover. But when you don't look at the evidence, right? When you stop letting the Commonwealth, the state, the parish, wherever you are, when you start letting the court system hand you a bedtime story and you start flipping the lights on yourself, right? Because the moment you shine a light on this case, the Eddie Wright case, many cases, many people that were exonerated, the shadows start running away. And what happens when you start accepting the version that they package for the evening news, right? And you start asking these questions, about questions that they hope nobody would ever ask. When you start asking them questions, see what happens. See what happens when you take a timeline that don't make sense. Hold it up to the truth. Because a story built on fear, not facts, fear. A story that protected, by silence, not evidence. Because sometimes silence is louder than words can ever be. But a story that was never cross-examined. You see how I just cross-examined Paul Jr., just freestyling it. Just, what do you think an attorney should be doing? But in 1995, Eddie didn't get that benefit of doubt, right? He didn't get the presumption of innocence. He didn't get a full investigation. Never mind investigate. He didn't even get the end of the first investigation. He didn't get the truth. But I'll tell you what, he's getting it now. He's getting it right here. He's getting it here. He's getting it on this platform, right in front of the people that actually care. Because you can't say free Eddie and ask Adi, oh, how you been? Oh, man, yeah, I'm glad you're doing great. You can't be Team Eddie and Team Adi. You can't be neutral. Because, if you ain't with me, you against me. But right here on this platform, he's getting it now, right? Right here, today. In front of the people that actually care about justice, not convenience, right? Because once you start peeling back all the layers, once you start asking why the DNA didn't match, where was the timeline? Why the timeline never added up? Why these Downing men were never tested? Why the evidence pointed everywhere except at Eddie? And you realize something simple, something devastating, something undeniable, that Eddie O'Brien didn't fail the system, right? The system failed Eddie O'Brien. So whether it was today, whether it was yesterday, whether it was in October, whenever it is, but I think today, from today forward, we have to be done pretending otherwise. You have to sit with this. Because if the truth can survive 30 years in the dark, imagine what it can do once we drag it into the light. This isn't the end of the story. I say this is the beginning of accountability. And I don't think Eddie, he's not going to forget this. He's not invincible, right? He's not alone. Nor was he ever alone. But now he's got people on all around, from Australia, from Ireland, all around the map that's screaming free Eddie, from Switzerland. but if you appreciate what we gave you, get some memberships, get the memberships up. I want to get over 300 before this weekend's up, man. Get back to at least that 300 mark. I appreciate all y'all. Thank you for rocking with me. I'm going to run out now, finish cutting the grass, and then, work later. So we're going to get some rest. All right, people, man. Thank you. We thank you, from our family to yours. We out of here. Stay safe. Stay out of them damn bracelets. And we'll see you on the other side. Not that side. Maybe tomorrow. And we out.
In a world made of shadows, where the truth feels far away, you find yourself behind bars for a price you didn't pay. You go to prison, fight your case with every breath you take, standing on your truth in the face of all this heartbreak. I didn't do this, you shout, but they turn their heads away, ignoring echoes of your innocence. You face another day. And what does the parole board say? Drowning in the protocol. You show no remorse. You're not fitting the role at all. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth, they care about compliance. Confess to a crime uncommitted. That's your only guidance. It's a trapdoor either way. No escape from their design. Parole board wants confessions, not a hint of reason or a sign. Not seeking justice, but looking for neat boxes checked as they mold a simple story, leaving your truth wrecked. 20 years in, you still stand tall, saying I didn't do this. They don't celebrate your honesty. It's lost in all the myths. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth, they care about compliance. Confess to a crime uncommitted. That's your only guidance. This ain't rehabilitation. Oh, it's coercion without it. How can a man find freedom when guilt is where they pretend. Reality's cruel and innocence turns to liability. Still holding on to truth, you fight for clarity. So here's to the dreamers behind the steel and stone. Your truth is still your own. You're never alone. The system needs to change. Real remorse it must define. Innocence is not your fault. It's their dark design. You deserve a path home too. Every day holds on to hope. Let the truth be your compass, helping you to cope. Locked in a cage where the truth fades away, in shadows of doubt where they make you pay. You go to prison to fight your case, stand tall on the truth in this desolate place. I didn't do this to scream to the skies, but all they hear is the echo of lies. As the parole board asks for remorse, you see, how can you apologize for something not done? Chained in a cycle that leaves you undone. You want a confession for what I didn't do. It's a trap door, baby, a noose they've drawn for you. Turning truth into just a liability. Your integrity's a curse in this dark reality. Your responsibility they demand without a care, but the justice is a game that's rigged somewhere. 20 years in, and the clock.
Hey, Mikey, do you see what I see? Flickers of light in the darks, can you hear me? It's a story we never knew, a whisper to unfold. Lay it out clean and cold. Yeah. You're tracing lines, assembling facts, put them together like a puzzle, feel the cracks. What you laid out isn't wild at all. It's a map to a shadow where the secrets fall. Artie in the night, drawing close, it's a rhythm you feel. Can you tell me more? 8:30, it fits, doesn't it? The hours unwind, let's commit. Imagine a timeline clean and sharp, not a lost boy caught in the dark. Witnesses, whispers in the maze, mapping out a truth not lost in the haze.
Mikey, Mikey. We discover the lines, body and soul intertwine when shadows dance beneath the moonlight. Pieces connecting in the dead of night, bringing light to the truth that's out of sight. We break it apart, we ignite. Oh Mikey, oh let's shine through the fight, revealing the stories in black and white.
You walk through the gates. Reality sets the stage. With every step, the walls whisper your name. You go to prison, they shackle your dreams, an echo in the dark, or so it seems. Fighting your case with nothing but truth, clenching your fists as you steady your proof. And then they hit you with words like stones. You show no remorse, they carve in your bones. You won't take responsibility, you're not ready. We paint with excuses, keep the truth unsteady. How you gonna take blame for a storm you didn't bring? Like blaming the man who's just caught in the swing. The system don't care about the path you tread, only about boxes and a story well read. A trapdoor's waiting on both sides of this game. Confess to a crime, dance in someone's shame. They're looking for confessions, not justice, not grace. Just a clean little narrative that fits in this space. In a world made of shadows, where the truth feels far away, you find yourself behind bars for a price you didn't pay. You go to prison, fight your case with every breath you take, standing on your truth in the face of all this heartbreak. I didn't do this, you shout, but they turn their heads away, ignoring echoes of your innocence. You face another day. And what does the parole board say? Drowning in that protocol. You show no remorse, you're not fitting the role at all. How you gonna take responsibility for a storm you didn't cause? Like blaming someone for the rain just because they were outdoors. The system don't care about your truth, they care about compliance. Confess to a crime uncommitted, that's your only guidance. It's a trapdoor either way, no escape from their design. Parole board wants confessions, not a hint, a reason, or a sign. Not seeking justice, but looking for neat boxes checked. As they mold a simple story, leaving your truth wrecked.